So today we're going to talk about the top 10 things I did once I got in my 40s and the lessons that I learned in my 30s. And once I started incorporating these 10 tips, my life got happier, more organized, more fulfilled, more joyful, way less stressful, and just overall, just an amazing time period in my life. I specifically took control of my health, my time, and my energy, and I have never looked back since I started incorporating these things into my life. And I'm even going to tell you which one of these is the hardest, and if I could go back, how I probably would have avoided some wasted time if I just would have jumped on the bandwagon on that particular tip way sooner. So the first thing is I learned that I cannot control everything. Yes, I can't control everything. I can't control everyone's feelings. I can't control everybody's outcomes. The minute that I finally really truly recognize that I can only control my actions and myself and what's going wrong in my immediate circle, the much quicker, faster, and happier I got. And not only that, I stopped trying to manipulate the things I couldn't control. Because it's one thing to just not have control. It's another thing to try to assert your will and your effort and your energy in a way that makes the outcome the way you want it. So once I learned, look, Diaka, you can't do that. Life is gonna life. Take care of the things that you're supposed to take care of and let everything else surround you fall as it may. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're really not in control of anything anyway. I just got so much happier and my stress level reduced dramatically. Second one was neglecting your health. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I can honestly say that since I was probably about in my early 20s, I've never fully neglected my health. I've never fully just been like, it's over. Like, I just haven't. Like, my health has always been something that I have my foot in the pool at all times. Sometimes I don't get in the pool like I need to, but I can say for the majority of my life, I haven't stepped away from the pool. So when I say neglecting your health, but what I'm talking about is way beyond your physical health. I'm talking about your mental health and your spiritual health. That is all part of neglecting your health. So when I think about when I really made a conscious decision, especially in my late 30s, I thought to myself a couple of things. Number one, as far as my body goes, like, this is the body that I'm gonna have when I'm like in my 60s and in my 70s. And looking around at people that I knew that were in their 60s and their 70s, I looked at the people who, when they were my age, had healthy habits, and I looked at the people who were, when my age, did not have healthy habits. And I did not want to have any part of the people that didn't have healthy habits. I think about my grandmother who lived to be 96. She didn't smoke, she didn't drink, she walked, she did the things that she was supposed to do, and she lived a fairly relatively healthy life all the way to probably like the last 2 weeks of her life. And so I would just caution you to, I know time seems like you have time, even in your late 30s and your 40s, but you will turn around, and I am sure, just like 40 something is here now, 60 something will be here. So taking control. Same thing with your mental and your spiritual health. Like, the way that I pour into myself through the mental capacity and the things that I take in the environment is going to play a huge role in how I feel about things later. The third one, putting off your dreams. Like, I don't know what you're waiting for, sis, bro, whoever's watching this. Like, the dreams that you had were placed in your heart for a reason. The dreams that you had were, something is there. And so I don't know what stage of life you're in, but I would truly encourage you, now is the time, if you haven't already, to go and pursue your dreams. Now, I'm not saying drop everything, responsibilities, family, and do something just outlandish and crazy unless you just feel like that's your calling. But what I am saying is, think of it like putting yourself constantly on the back burner. Why would you put everybody in front of you and then whatever is left over is for you? So if your dream was to start a business, if your dream was to go back to school, if your dream was to go run a marathon, whatever your dreams are, at least pursue them. The worst that can happen when you pursue a dream is you don't make it. But what's far worse than that is not pursuing it all and always wondering if you would have been able to pursue your dream. So get up off your couch, your chair, and go pursue what God has put in you. Okay, so this one, I wish I would have had someone to sit me down and tell myself, especially in my early 30s. And the minute I really released this one, life-changing. Comparing yourself to others. So when I was, of course, in my 30s, I used to not necessarily compare myself to others as far as like some of the things that you would traditionally think of, like, oh, she's better or they have more. It would be more like, this is the stage I am in life and I feel like I should be here. but I'm here. So this is where I am in my career. I feel like I should be over here. Or these people are married and happy and thriving, and I'm over here looking at this person like I knew better. And so when I talk about like stop comparing yourselves to others, like where you are in life is where you're planted. Your job is to go in and figure out what you want and be able to work to pursue that in a way that is authentic to you. But when you are looking, especially, and social media wasn't anywhere near as critical as it is now. So it wasn't as bad where, everything was on Instagram or everything was on TikTok, where you're looking at these people are taking these vacations. Like, you're in Turks and Caicos in Dubai and we have the same job. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you paying for this? And so it was more or less just stepping back and realizing that everybody has a season. When I look back and think about some of the stuff that used to upset me, I will never forget. This is how petty I was. I remember we went to a party. I was probably in my early 30s. And like, we pulled up to the party and everybody was like in a BMW and a Mercedes Benz. And I remember at the time, I don't remember what I was driving, but it wasn't that. And I remember like thinking like, how are these the same people that I went to school with and I don't have what they have? Like, y'all, like, think about how ridiculous that is. Like a freaking car. Like, who's to say what kind of financial situation those people were in? Or they may have been thriving, and amen to them. But that wasn't the season I was in. And so letting go of control and letting go of comparing myself to others was so fulfilling. Like, where I am is for me. And I promise you, anybody who's any place good, there was a trial to get there. So think about that. When you're comparing yourself to others, do you want to step into the journey that they walk to get to where they are? Staying in a relationship that does not suit you. Girl, pull up, let me tell you. Staying in a relationship that doesn't fulfill you. Now, I will say this. No, stay in a relationship that doesn't fulfill you. Like, don't make excuses. Because I was almost getting ready to make the excuse of, oh, I was young, and I was when we got together. I was 18, he was 18. But I knew all the red flags were there. The warning signs were there. I watched my mother and my friends' mothers and all of them stay in marriages way too long than they needed to be. And then when like we went off to college and they were like in their 50s, then all of a sudden it's like they figured it out. And I was like, I already know now. I don't need to be in my 50s to figure it out. I'm figuring it out right now in my 30s that I don't need to be with this person. And I made that gut change. And it wasn't easy. And so I definitely believe in the sanctity of a relationship. But you also have to be very, very real with yourself and know when you are in a situation that you have no business in. And in that case, I wasn't. And I thank God that I made that decision, because then I would have never found my husband. And God gave me everything back for my ashes. That's all I'm going to say on that. Next one is ignoring your finances. Like, I have a video and I'll link it about, being mindful, being fiscally responsible with your budget. Like, learning in my 30s, and some of it was out of necessity because once I kind of became a single mom, I just kind of had to manage my money better. But ignoring your finances, like thinking that you're going to figure it out down the line. Down the line is now. Like, your late 30s, 40s, like, that time should have already started. And especially those of you who are in your 40s and older, let me tell you why this is so important. Like, at some point, you're not going to want to work anymore. You're going to have a plan for retirement. You're going to have a plan for what about if you get sick, or your husband or your wife gets sick later. Like, you have got to be thinking that this body that's in its 40s may not look the same when it's in its 70s. And hopefully, if you go on to live in your 80s and your 90s, you still want to be able to have the financial stability that's necessary. So if you don't have a good retirement plan, or you haven't really looked in the mirror and made some true decisions about your money, like, ignoring that is only going to compound itself. And I know it's hard, and that's why I would suggest you go back and watch the video, because I keep it very real about some gut checks that I had to do. And I'm so very grateful that in my 30s I made those decisions, because now I'm in a fiscally responsible place that is, a good place to be. What I definitely embraced in my 30s was definitely new experiences. So prior to that, like, in my late 30s, I would kind of be like, oh, I can't afford that, or I can't do this, or I can't take the time off, or I can't do that. Or it would be new experiences. Like I would want to try something, but what would people think? Like just avoiding new experiences altogether. Like life is a collection of experiences, y'all, and you get to curate what those experiences look like. So what I am really encouraging you to do, and if you don't do it now, is find some things to look forward to, and then try new things, whether it's a new recipe, whether it's staying at a different hotel if you always stay at the same hotel, whether it's visiting a new city, whether it is literally listening to a different type of music. Like there are so many experiences that I've had the pleasure of experiencing primarily through travel that have completely changed my perspective, not just on life, but just my level of what I'm willing to try. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I still can't swim. So there's some experiences I need to work on. But my point is I have taken swim lessons, and I will talk about that another time, but I did take them. And so when I say new experiences, it doesn't mean that you're bungee jumping or jumping out of an airplane, but it does mean that you are doing something more than the status quo. And that is a lesson that I'm so grateful that I've learned. Okay, so this one right here is the hardest of all for me, and the one that I still struggle with, but the one that I think is really goes back to taking control. You ain't got to ask questions about every little detail, about every little thing. That's a word for me. You don't have to ask questions. My husband, if he watched my YouTube, would probably frame this, pause this, and make this his ringtone for me. You don't have to ask questions about every little thing. You don't have to know every little in and out about everything. What you need to know is, am I going to be safe? Okay. Where are we going, and what's going to happen, and how's this going to impact me overall. But all the who all gonna be there, and what time is this gonna happen, and why did she decide to do that, and why is he late, and why is this, and why is that, that goes back to I don't have control over those actions. I need to know like the big picture. Like I'm not walking into a situation where I don't know the big picture, but I have learned over time I don't have to know every little thing. Like sometimes just go with the flow. Sometimes just show up. Sometimes just have a good time, and you don't have to preoccupy yourself with all the details, because even if you do know all the details, if you're the type of person that asks questions, you're just going to find more questions to ask. Trust me, I know. So now is a great time, if you are not subscribed to my channel, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button before I finish up with these last couple of tips, because hopefully, as you see over here, we talk about wellness, health, how to live our best life in this stage of our life. And so if this resonates with you, please go ahead and hit subscribe. Okay, the last 2 or 3 are really important, and it depends on your personality. I don't struggle with this one as much as I used to, and I never super struggled with it, but it's something that I've learned, and that is holding on to grudges. Like, holding on to grudges doesn't serve anybody well except the person that's holding on to the grudge. Now, there's a difference between forgiving and forgetting. Like, I will forgive you. It doesn't mean I have to forget. Like, don't be stupid. But holding on to grudges to the point where, I don't know about you, but like, how you've ever like been in your car driving home and you're like, ooh, I should have told them this, or I should have said this, or ooh, if they say this or come back, this is what I'm going to tell them. Like just playing that out, that negative energy that you are allowing someone else to have when they're probably out living their life and doing their thing doesn't serve you at all. Like I said, you can forgive, but you don't have to forget. So don't feel like the compelled, if somebody has done you wrong, that you have to let it go to a point where you're back in the same situation all over again. I'm not suggesting that, but I think one thing the good book teaches us is that we are primed and we are to forgive. That is very, very clear. Okay, overcommitting. Like I am the master of not doing this, and if there's a teacher in a class about overcommitting, it is me. I know not to overcommit. I'm not going to do things I don't want to do. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to be there if I'm not coming there. If you tell me that we're going out and we're going to start out going at 10 o'clock at night, I'm not coming. I'm not. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I don't have the time to be who I need to be, to decompress, to rest, to relax, to evaluate where I'm at, because I'm committing to things that are important to other people. And so what I'm not saying is don't show up for your people, because I'm gonna show up for you. I'm gonna cut for you. What I'm not saying is you blow off your friends and like they invite you like 10 times and you don't ever show up. Like, no. But what I am saying is I don't need to brunch with you every Sunday. What I am saying is I'm gonna sit this trip out. What I am saying is no, I'm not gonna make that meeting. Like, you get to determine what your schedule looks like. And of course, on this channel, we talk all about planning. I am a planner Nazi. And so I have a good gauge on my time, and I'm going to put my time to where it is not selfish, but I'm also not going to put myself in a place where my time is being wasted. And then I'm rushing from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, because I didn't value my personal time. And I'm not willing to do that. And that's a lesson that you need to learn now. And the last one is doubting yourself. Like, I'm so glad I learned that lesson. Like, I'm not doubting myself for anything. When it comes to betting on somebody, I'm going to bet on me. Number one, I'm going to bet on me because, quite honestly, over time, I've had enough life experiences, quite honestly, that I kind of know not to panic. I'm going to bet on me because over time, I have learned to navigate through life. I have made it all the way to this point right here, and so have you. So why would you not bet on yourself? The other thing, and no matter what your religious beliefs are, I'm a child of God, and God is going to take care of Diaka, because Diaka knows that trust and believe, as my mother would say, that all things are going to come together for my goodness. And so with that being said, I don't have no reason to doubt. Now, I struggle with questions. I do. And if that's a little bit of doubt, I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. But what I am saying is at the end of the day, it is about the life you're curating for yourself. And so if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your capabilities and your gifts that have been put in you, then who are you believing in? So never, ever doubt yourself, ever. So some of these have literally changed my life. Like, I am so curious as to what are the things that you have learned that you no longer do in your 40s that have made your life so much richer and so much fulfilled. I would definitely check out some of my other videos because I talk about taking risk at this age. I talk about having passion projects and all kinds of wonderful things. So I will see you all in the next video, and thanks for watching.